What if there was one book, just one, that distilled the greatest ideas humanity has ever discovered about transformation and reality? From the Bible to the Quran, from Think and Grow Rich to the teachings of Neville Goddard, from neuroscience to vibration and psychology and quantum physics, what if all of it, how thoughts become things and why change feels so hard and why some people create extraordinary lives and others stay stuck, was explained in a way that finally made sense? And not as theory, not as motivation, but as a practical understanding of how your mind actually works and how reality responds to it. Well, in today's episode, I'm going to share that book with you. And more importantly, I'm going to teach you 6 distinctions from it, 6 shifts in understanding that if you had known them years ago would have put you decades ahead. But the fact that you didn't is okay, because by the end of this episode, you'll have absolute clarity on what actually needs to change in order for the vision you have for your life to become a reality. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. If you've been with us for a while, first of all, thank you genuinely for being a part of this journey. You know, this past month, this podcast crossed 2 million listeners, which is really, really extraordinary. And the show exists because of a shared commitment to one idea, that when the mind changes, everything else changes. And, you know, recently I was invited by Dave Asprey. He created Bulletproof Coffee. He basically invented the biohacking industry. He asked me to speak on stage at one of his events. And during the introduction, he said something that really struck me. He said, if Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins, and Joe Dispenza had a baby, it would be David Bayer. Now, first of all, I took that as a huge compliment, even though if the 3 of those people had a baby, it would probably be the ugliest baby in the history of the world. Nothing against any of them. But what Dave was pointing to and what matters is that this work that we talk about every single day here lives at the intersection of neuroscience, psychology, spirituality, and practical transformation. What most people don't know is that I've never actually done an episode dedicated to the book that I wrote called A Changed Mind. And what's interesting is if you were to take every episode of this show, every conversation, every teaching, and distilled it into a single framework, that book is the result. It's not a highlight reel. It's not theory. It's actually the operating system underneath everything that we talk about here. So in today's episode, I want to do something simple and powerful. I want to teach you 6 distinctions from the book, 6 little ideas that once you truly see them will permanently change how you relate to your mind, your emotions, and your results. You don't need to agree with them. You don't need to like them. But if you let yourself really see them, you'll understand why so many people work hard on themselves and still don't get the results that they want. So distinction number 1 is suffering is separate from the experience. You know, I used to blame the things that were happening in my life and believe that the reason why I feel a particular way was because of those things. You know, I'm stressed because my life is stressful. I'm scared because there's not enough money in my bank account, right? I'm angry because somebody didn't agree with me. I was always blaming my external circumstances. I spent some time in India training at an ashram, and one of the distinctions they taught me was that this suffering that I'm experiencing is actually separate from the experience. That's not what's causing the emotional angst of my life. And that the only thing that is moving me into what I would call a primal state or a state of suffering is the meaning that I'm giving the experience. It's what I think or what I believe about the experiences of my life, right? It's not having as much money in your bank account as you would like that's creating financial stress for you. It's actually believing that you might run out or you're not going to have enough. I remember this struck me really profoundly when I was getting into a relationship with my wife back when we were just dating. And I thought she was the one creating frustration for me. If she would just agree with the things that I'm saying, then I wouldn't be frustrated. And so I spent a lot of time trying to convince her or control her into agreeing with me until one day I realized, wow, the frustration that I'm experiencing is not a result of her not agreeing with me. It's actually a result of me believing she should be agreeing with me when she's not. That's what's creating my suffering. And as I've gotten into this work and really developed the frameworks over the last decade, I oftentimes look to the natural world to really understand what's true. Because we can find the laws or the mathematical principles that govern reality functioning without interruption in the natural world. And one of the things that struck me was you don't see suffering in the natural world. You see pain, you might see animals in the process of dying, but you don't see the psychological, emotional suffering that we experience on a day-to-day basis. In other words, you never see squirrels worried that they're not going to find a nut. You don't see birds stressed that they might be flying in the wrong direction towards more temperate climate. You know, you don't see animals comparing themselves to each other or in some form of indecision. It's like life is just functioning without disruption. in the natural world. And so what that must mean is that if we find something in the human experience that doesn't exist out there, it's got to be man-made. And the good news is that when there's something that's man-made, we can spend some time in understanding how we're creating it, and we can uncreate it. And so distinction number one is very, very important. It's to understand that all of our personal suffering is internal, it's not external. And when you realize that, you take back your power, because if you can change the meaning you're giving an experience, you can change your emotional experience of life, and then ultimately change your reality. Distinction number two, the brain is a goal-achieving machine. Your brain is the most extraordinary creative technology so far that we know of in the history of the universe. In fact, I would put it up against artificial intelligence any day. Your brain has the ability to produce any outcome based on certain inputs. And your brain is actually always attempting to achieve goals. No matter what it is, no matter how big it is, no matter how long you've been in a certain place in your life and what type of change you want, you can create that change. Your brain will achieve it 100% of the time, consistently and predictably. And you would say, well, Dave, but I don't understand that. If my brain is a goal-achieving machine, how come I don't have as much money as I would like? And the reason is because the input that determines what goals your brain will achieve are your belief systems, not your desires. So you could want to have $1 million, but if you believe that money is hard to make, that will become your reality. And it becomes your reality because the beliefs you have determine what you think on a moment-by-moment basis. It determines how you perceive the world and what information you pay attention to and what information you ignore. And also, let's keep in mind that every time you have a thought, every time you activate a memory, your brain is lighting up. It's an electromagnetic technology, and it's connected to a nervous system that's also electromagnetic. And so depending upon the beliefs you have and the thoughts that you're entertaining, you're putting off this vibe, this frequency that is creating coincidences and synchronicities in your life. And this is the way your reality becomes created. And so your brain is always creating something, but what it's creating is based off of the meaning that you're giving the experience of your life. And many of us, we have a lot of desires to change our life, but our fundamental belief systems, particularly at a subconscious level, are not congruent with the outcomes that we want to produce. So we want to be in a relationship with a soulmate, but we believe there's no good ones left out there. And so that's what we pay attention to. And the decisions that we make at an unconscious level move us into circumstances and situations where we prove that hypothesis back to us. It's like, you select to go out on dates with certain people and they end up not being the right person, and you go, see, I knew it, right? I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. There's no good ones out there. But the decision to go out with that person in the first place, and even the rendezvous that created that meeting, or who swiped up or swiped left or swiped down, and who you ended up meeting online, that's all determined by your subconscious decisions, which are being driven by your belief systems. So your brain is this amazing goal-achieving machine, but the instructions it is operating against are the assumptions or beliefs that you have about life. Want to change your life? You got to change your belief systems. Distinction number 3, beliefs are decisions. Now, this is one of the most powerful distinctions that I ever discovered, so I want to spend a moment to go deep with you on it, because you could just kind of run by it too quickly. Literally hundreds of thousands of people have transformed their bank accounts, their relationships, their health, their connection with their higher power, their careers, as a result of this single distinction. When I was in personal growth, I got to a point where I felt like I was stuck in personal growth. I don't know if you can relate to that. It's like I had done the events, I had read the books, I had meditated in the ashrams, I did the psychedelic assisted therapy, I understood the sacred geometry and the consciousness theory and all the stuff. And my life had improved incrementally, but I still had a lot of limiting beliefs that I wasn't aware of, and I had a lot of limiting beliefs that I was aware of, but I didn't know how to shift. And so I got into this place where I had this burning desire. That's a Napoleon Hill concept, right? It's this idea that something I really, really wanted really, really bad. In scripture, it's this idea of ask, pray with all of your heart and you will receive an answer. And I received an answer. What I was asking for was a way to actually transform the beliefs that I was aware of that were still there. And my wife and I were walking on the beach one day, and it's really crazy. It's like the deepest distinctions and solutions that occur for us are when we're not actually trying to solve the problem, but we step away from the problem and give it some space. We were just walking on the beach, and I had this awareness that beliefs are decisions. And for me, it was profound, because I had thought beliefs were these complex programs where I had to find a trauma specialist or some technology to shift my nervous system or uninstall the program. Beliefs are a very kind of nebulous, ephemeral concept, right? Because they're invisible, they're hard to wrap your arms around. But the idea that beliefs were decisions gave me access to something, because I knew how to make decisions. I'd been making decisions my whole life. But what I realized was that when I was a kid and I had an experience where I came to this conclusion that I didn't know how to do things right, that was a core belief of mine, but it was really a decision. It was a decision that I made at a time where I wasn't questioning my decisions. What happens because of the way the human being operating system works and because the brain is a goal-achieving machine is that I started thinking that I didn't know how to do things right. I started noticing that I didn't know how to do things right, and I started ignoring all of the evidence that I actually knew how to do things correctly, and so that became my reality. And in every new experience, I was unconsciously deciding again, I didn't know how to do things right. I didn't know how to do things right. You can know what decisions you're making if you pay attention to your inner dialogue, right? So when you say to yourself, like, I'm not good enough, or I should be further along than I am, or I should be working harder, or other people have success, but I don't, there's something wrong with me, those are decisions. We call them beliefs, but they're decisions. But when they become decisions, now you gain this access to shift them. I call it an ability to respond to the limiting belief. And the response ability that you have is to make a new decision. So if you've been deciding that money's hard to make, you make a new decision, which is there's more money in existence in the world today than ever before. There's more prosperity and abundance than ever before. You just make a new decision about life. And it's true, for example, what I just said. There's more money in circulation than ever before. You've got things like Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, more types of businesses than ever before, stock markets at an all-time high. There's more money, there's more prosperity and abundance than ever before. But if you're continuing to just make this unconscious decision that money is hard to make or money is scarce, that becomes your reality. Why? Well, going back one distinction, because the brain is a goal-achieving machine. Beliefs are decisions. And when you identify a limiting belief, you can just make a new decision. We have a great process called the decision matrix, which is in my book. The third step of the process is to ask yourself, what evidence do I have for the fact that this new decision is true? Right? Well, the evidence is there's more money in circulation than ever before. But if you're constantly making a decision, which is there's no good ones left out there, but you're looking for a soulmate, that's going to become your reality. You have to realize that that is a limiting belief, and beliefs are decisions, and you can make a new decision. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I know I'm going to meet my soulmate. That's a new decision. That starts to recalibrate your brain. It starts to reorient the way that you perceive the world. You start having new thoughts, and you start creating new coincidences and synchronicities. Hey, it's David. Just a quick interruption to your regularly scheduled episode by your favorite sponsor, moi. I want to tell you about my book. It is available on Amazon right here, right now. A Changed Mind. Go beyond self-awareness, rewire your brain, and re-engineer your reality. In this little book are all the frameworks, the tools, the methodologies that I talk about on this show and that I've used to actually change my mind and that tens of thousands of other people have used to transform their bank accounts, their businesses, their relationships, their health, their spiritual connection, everything that you want to achieve. This is the way to achieve it. And Amazon has done us a good one right now. It's significantly discounted. So you can go and pick up your copy, or better yet, pick up a copy for a friend too. There's nothing better than giving the gift of transformation right now. Hop on over to Amazon. There's a link in the show notes. And if you love the book as much as I loved writing it for you, do me a favor, let me know that and leave a review. And now back to your regularly scheduled episode. Distinction number 4. There are only 2 states of being: primal states and powerful states. This is a really amazing distinction. I'm going to share with you why, but I want to explain it first. So when we say there are only 2 states of being, what it means is there are only 2 emotional categories that you can live in at any one point in time. One is powerful states of being that feel good, like calm, joy, excitement, compassion, passion. That's when your parasympathetic nervous system is active, the rest and relaxation. And then there's another category of emotions, primal states of being. Those are states of being that don't feel good. I would call that suffering, stress, anxiety, overwhelm, anger, jealousy. That's when the sympathetic expression of your nervous system, the fight or flight, is active. What's important to understand with this distinction, the 2 states of being, is that you're always in one state of being or the other. You're always in a powerful state or a primal state. You're always in a good feeling or a bad feeling emotion. And you're never in 2 states of being at the same time. So this is a really beautiful binary model. Why is this helpful? Because the only thing that determines what state of being you're in is your own thinking. When you're entangled with a limiting belief, you move into a primal state. When you're entangled with an empowered belief or an empowered decision, you're in a powerful state of being. And so if what we're talking about here is to begin noticing when you've moved into entanglement with a limiting belief and to transform the limiting belief so you can change your reality, it's very helpful to know that when you feel good, you're engaging with empowered beliefs. And when you feel bad, the only thing that's causing you to move into that negative emotion or that suffering state is your own thinking. And the quality of that thinking is that it is a limiting belief. This is helpful because when you get into mindset work, initially it can be really hard to catch your thoughts. The statistic is like there's 6,000 thoughts a day or 60,000 thoughts a day. Like they happen almost instantaneously. It's always taking place. So it's almost like this white noise, background noise. It's very hard to detect. But if I were to ask you right now, how do you feel, good or bad? You could answer that question. And if you feel bad, remember, suffering is separate from the experience. So the only thing that's causing you to feel bad are your own thoughts. And the quality of those thoughts is that it's a limiting belief. This is also a really great way for you to identify your limiting beliefs. People often say to me, well, how do I become aware of what I'm not aware of? And my answer is, well, learn this distinction that there's only two states of being, and then notice when you've moved into a primal state or suffering and take a look at your thinking. You'll find a limiting belief because the only cause of suffering is limiting beliefs. Distinction number 5. All suffering is caused by unintelligent thinking. Now, this is actually an elaboration of the two states of being. I mentioned to you in the two states of being that the only thing that can move you into a primal state is a limiting belief, right? And a primal state we would describe as suffering. And so what we're saying here is that all suffering, all of your emotional suffering, the stress, the anxiety, the overwhelm is not caused by your external environment. It's caused by your own thinking. And the quality of the thinking is that it's a limiting belief. Are you guys tracking with me? We're building this amazing framework here. This is a system for you to transform your thinking. And we say all suffering is caused by unintelligent thinking. Why? Because limiting beliefs are unintelligent thinking. Limiting beliefs are not in alignment with the possibility of your reality. When you say that money is hard to make, it's not true. And that's why you move into a primal state. That's why you feel bad when you think that thought. Because there are fundamental truths to reality. And one of the greatest truths is that life is always working for your greatest growth, your greatest prosperity, and your greatest evolution. That all things are possible for you. I believe in a loving creator. I don't believe that a creator would give you a vision for something that you want to create without the tools or the means by which to materialize that vision. That means every idea, every thought, every vision you have that truly comes from your heart and is authentic, not ego-driven, but authentic, is a possibility for you. And when you start thinking in opposition to that possibility, you've got this wonderful emotional guidance system, your nervous system, that almost goes off like a lie detector test and says, Jane, that's not true. That's not what life has stored for you. You're thinking in terms of limitations, not possibilities. And so when we say things to ourselves like we're not good enough, the lie detector goes off because you're absolutely good enough. When we say we're not as far along as we should be, the lie detector goes off because each of us are on our own journeys at our own pace. When we say that we don't have enough time, the lie detector goes off because time is really not so important. Timing is the thing that can actually allow us to achieve more. When you say to yourself that money is hard to make, the lie detector goes off because this reality has been constructed to provide you abundance and prosperity. And so it's important to understand that all suffering is caused by one thing and one thing only, which is unintelligent thinking, beliefs that are simply untrue. And so this is a really powerful awareness because, again, not only can you reclaim control over your emotional experience of life because it's not the external circumstance that's causing you suffering, it's the meaning you're giving the experience, but now you have the opportunity to interface with reality in a sovereign way, to start changing your reality because you now understand that the only cause of the suffering that you're feeling or moving into a primal state is unintelligent thinking. We can start to now evaluate the thinking and transform our thinking in the process. Distinction number 6, and I said this just a moment ago, life is always working for your greatest growth, your greatest prosperity, and your greatest evolution. So there's an infinite intelligence. All the different spiritual teachings have a way of describing it. The Hindus described it as the great shining body of radiance amidst and beyond the world. In Christianity, it's broken up into a trifecta of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In other cultures, it's described as the ether or a fabric of consciousness. But it's essentially a 360-degree movie screen of intelligence that the material world is emerging from and that we are having our own experience of reality against. But the fundamental nature of this godness is that it is loving. It operates according to loving mathematical principles. And so you say, well, Dave, how can that be? I mean, I have challenges in my life. Why would a loving universe give me these experiences? And my answer to that question would be, you chose to become something in this life. I believe that you decided before you came who you wanted to be, what you wanted to learn, how you wanted to expand yourself from previous life experiences. And so as a result of that, you were given a curriculum. And in that curriculum, there are challenges, because those challenges are the resistance training by which we grow, we evolve. It helps us fine tune what we want. We experience what we don't want, and we get even clear on what we do want. We want to become more faithful people, and so we experience a lot of fear and doubt. It's only through overcoming the fear and doubt that we become more confident and faithful. We want to be prosperous and abundant, and the way that we experience that is by experiencing the absence of prosperity, which catalyzes a desire within us and allows us to work through and become truly abundant and prosperous people. But whatever you want to call it, intelligence, God, higher power, Jesus, Allah, it's not random. It's operating according to precise mathematical laws like gravity. And it's coming from a very loving perspective. It's coming from a place of always working for your greatest growth, your greatest prosperity, and your greatest evolution. So the system is inherently loving and designed for your growth. And even challenging or undesired experiences, what I would call contrast, are not punishments, but they're intelligently curated setups. They reflect your unconscious beliefs back to you, providing opportunities to see the untruth in your thinking and choose a more aligned, powerful path. So in that sense, nothing ever truly goes wrong. It's always working for your highest good. So I hope you've enjoyed these principles as much as I love sharing them with you. There's a link in the show notes, whether you're listening on the audio platforms or on YouTube, to go and grab the book on Amazon. I think it's like $16 right now. We're doing something really cool where if you purchase the book and you send the receipt to my team, there's an email in the show notes as well. It's called goldenticket@davidbear.com, or you could email it to support@davidbear.com. If you buy the book and you send in the receipt, we're actually giving you a complimentary ticket to join us at my big annual event. It's coming up here at the end of March 26th through 29th. Again, information for that is in the show notes as well. Would love to have you join us, but it's a special book promo we're doing here at the end of the year. The book is a great gift for yourself. It's a great gift for other people, especially if you get, which I know you do, that the way that you're going to be able to create an extraordinary new year is not through changing your external circumstances, but by actually changing your mind. So if you want to get the book, give it as a gift, and spend 3 days going deep with me and 1,000 other impact-driven entrepreneurs and high performers and leaders, and join us at our live event, it's my gift to you. If you're already coming to the event, you get a bonus ticket now if you want to pick up the book and send that into goldenticket@davidbear.com. So thanks for being here with me. Again, if you haven't yet, subscribe, be a part of our community. It's the way that we can stay in this work together. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next episode.